Gear up, Scooter fam. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Today, I'm going to do the last of my Black Friday matchups as we're coming into the end of Black Friday. And I've been looking around, looking for different ones to try to do. And I came up with this last one for today. So I wanted to do it. It's a Black Friday matchup. These deals are extending out past today. So it's still relevant, but just wanted to keep you guys updated on this and do this matchup real quick. Before getting into this, a couple of things, just quick notes. The Solar Hyperion reviews are out. I've seen some information on them, and one topic that I was sort of curious about are the split rims. So these scooters, the usually when you have a split rim, it's on a tubed setup because the tube sits on top of the split rim. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to make sure that air didn't escape. And so with these, supposedly they have an O-ring, a rubber O-ring that sits in the middle, so that when you tighten it up, it creates an airtight seal, which is interesting. And then you put and it just closes around the tire. That just easily just pops on and off. The tubeless tire just pops on and off. And so that's the plan. And it's, from what I know, it's the only one that works this well, but there may be other instances that I'm not aware of, but I haven't seen this type of thing before. Like I said, with the rubber O-ring, I can tell you from experience with rubber O-rings. My stepdad used to run a small hydraulics business. He owned a small hydraulics business, and I've seen lots of O-rings and pistons and so forth that got these O-rings are really common to get. They're the first things to get messed up. They're the first things to get destroyed. The slightest thing, sand, any little thing gets in there, it can completely screw your system. As far as and mess that up because of the O-ring. So it'll be something that you have to completely stay on top of and make sure that when you install them and you're putting them together, there's absolutely nothing that gets in there, because it can be a problem really quickly. And personally, I don't know if I want to put that in the hands of something like that. I mean, I get that it works as long as everything's great and fine, and so forth, and the O-rings are brand new and all these things, and they haven't started to crack or degrade, just degrade, and so which they do not, a lot. It's just gonna have to be a constant thing with maintenance that you're gonna have to add, and if you're into that and you're comfortable with worrying about all that, it's no big deal. But it's not just going to be like pop it on, pop it off, pop it on. You're always going to have to make sure that it's nice and perfect, and the O-ring is in good shape, so forth. So naturally, like I said, it will wear down over time. And from what I've seen, they're the first things to wear down. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the next thing to me is just when it closes around it. And how that does. It seems like, you've got to now bead the tire, make sure that there's so many different things that are going on there that, and once again, if the screws aren't properly tightened down, anyway, it's just there's just a lot to think about. And I know these guys are really good at what they do, and the average person having to do this, like, I'm just not sure, This scooter's for someone who's seriously mechanically inclined and wants to tackle something like that. But I'm going to move on from that. I just wanted to kind of touch on that. I think it's interesting. That scooter seems really interesting. But that split rim thing just is one thing that I'm curious how that plays out over time. And I'm still a little standoffish until I see some of these things kind of get tested over a long term. That's my thoughts on that. Another thing real quick is there is another another discount on the InMotion RS on InMotion's site, which will get you an additional $300 off if you buy the standard version of the RS. You have to spend more than $3,000 to get the 10% off. If you spend roughly $3,700 for the RS, it'll brings it down to 30, maybe it's 37.8, whatever it is. It's $300 off. It's 10% off if you spend over $3,000. There's more off if you go higher than that, but that's up to $10,000, I think. But yeah, you get $300 off if you spend $3,000. So that applies to the InMotion RS on the InMotion site. So that brings it down another $300 if you guys are interested in that scooter on there. All right, let's get into the comparison. Black Friday matchup. The Solar FF Lite and the Apollo Phantom V4. Those are the two scooters I'm going to compare today. They're fairly rough, fairly the same in price and specs, very close in some of those things. And we have a little bit of differences between the two. So let's go ahead and get into it. The FF Lite is $18.99 and the Apollo Phantom is $18.99. However, for Black Friday, the FF Lite is also an additional 12% off, which I think brings it up under $1,700 if you're interested in the Solar FF Lite. The FF Lite top speed is stated at 45 miles an hour and the Apollo Phantom at 43. The FF Lite has a range of 45 miles stated and the Apollo Phantom of 50 miles stated. The FF Lite has a 60 volt 23 amp hour battery and the Apollo Phantom has a 52 volt 23 amp hour battery. The FF Lite is dual hydraulic brakes with regen brakes as well, and the Apollo Phantom V4 is dual disc and regen brakes. This is of course the V4X. The FF Lite has NFC start, but the Apollo Phantom does not. The FF Lite has dual 1600 watt motors and the Apollo Phantom has dual 1200 watt motors. They both have 10-inch tubeless tires with puncture-resistant technology. The FF Lite has a twist throttle or a thumb throttle, and the Apollo Phantom V4X has a thumb throttle. They both have IP54 ratings. The FF Lite comes in at 70 pounds and can support up to 330 pounds. The Apollo Phantom comes in at 77 pounds and can support up to 300 pounds. I could not find a UO listing on either of them. All right, so my final thoughts. Both good scooters. The Solars have been kind of popping up lately in my searches and comparisons when I'm looking at things to sort of consider. And who knows, I may consider a Solar on my next scooter purchase. We'll see how things go and the prices and so forth. They're pretty stern in their prices. I will say that since I've been following them, I haven't noticed too many price changes until Black Friday with this 12% off. Don't believe I've seen one. So, that's something to consider if you're really interested in the Apollo. I'm sorry, in the Solar. So Apollo has changed quite a bit. I have a hard time keeping up with their prices, to be honest. So the FF Lite is like I said, dual 1600 watt. They both have the IP54. They all look good. There's great things. The FF Lite has an NFC start. That's a real big deal for me. I really enjoy the NFC start technology. Got the more powerful motors, but they seem to pretty much have a fairly consistent performance. The FF Lite gets a couple more miles per hour. The range is fairly similar. I mean, so you're not probably gonna miss too much of that on either one of those, in my opinion. You got hydraulic brakes on the FF Lite versus just dual disc brakes on the Phantom, and they both have regen. Neither of them have a UL listing, so that's really out of the picture. IP54 is exactly the same. I mean, I think this is one of the instances where if they're the same price, it's a tough call. Like, they're really close. You could go either way. But considering right now the FF Lite is 12% off, I mean, it's a larger battery, so probably more efficient in running that and so forth. The battery's life will probably be longer. I mean, I'll go with the FF Lite on this one, especially with the 12% off. It makes it a no-brainer because of the discount. Like I said, they're two scooters to me that are very similar in nature, have a lot of same things going on for them, and But the FF Lite, being 12% right now during Black Friday, I would take it over the Phantom V4 at the moment. Guys, if you enjoyed this content and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And happy riding.